if you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut. Get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more, 'cause it's the golf betting system, the golf betting system, it's the golf betting system podcast.
Greetings and welcome to the Golf Betting System podcast. It's episode 383. This is our 2026 Cognizant Classic and Investec South African Open Tips podcast. Paul Williams joins me, Steve Bamford, to discuss this week's PGA and DP World Tour action. How are you, Paul?
I'm very well, Steve. How are you?
Rested. Very good.
Good.
Enjoyed my little trip away, so now it's back to the grind. And the days are a little bit longer now, a little bit more light over here in the UK.
Well, we're actually recording in the daylight, which is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. This podcast is for listeners of 18 and above. Please be gamble aware. You can visit gambleaware.org for more information. And of course, please bet responsibly. Visit our world-famous golf betting system website, where we have my in-depth betting preview for the Cognizant, and we've got Paul's for the South African Open. Paul has also been in the stats lab pulling together this week's data. We have PGA National strokes gained rankings, detailed course form, player form, and combi sheets for both events, plus new and old predictor models for both the PGA and the DP World Tour action this week. All of our content is available completely free of charge. There is no paywall or registration required. We're available on X. Paul is at Golf Betting. I am at Bamford Golf. Also on Bluesky, search for Steve Bamford and Paul Williams. Subscribe to the Steve Bamford Golf YouTube channel, where this podcast is available each and every week. Of course, if you're listening on YouTube, please press that like button and hit the subscribe button. Now, you guys as listeners power this podcast, so we need your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. As ever, for those of you who leave a review, I'll read them out at the start of a future show. Leave your name and where you are in the review. Can I just say, it'd be fantastic if we got a few more UK 5-star reviews, on the basis that we haven't had any in 2026 so far. So if you're listening in the UK or Ireland, get your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts for us. This one's very short and sweet. Entitled The Perfect Golf Pod. 5 stars. Great for gambling, of course, but also great just as a tournament preview. And that is from THA Vad Hunt 25. Thank you very much for that. Short but sweet, Paul.
Yeah, short but sweet. Thanks for taking the time to send us that in. Much appreciated.
So yeah, if you're in the UK or Ireland, give us a 5-star review. It's more than likely that you'll be read out next week. Also, Spotify. Don't forget, press that 5-star button. We've got a little bit of a goal to get 1,000 Spotify 5-star rankings on the Golf Betting System website page, or Golf Betting System podcast page. So if you could do that, that'd be fantastic. Lots to catch up on, Paul. You had one event, I've had 2 since the last pod. Let's start over in the States with Pebble Beach. I didn't see Colin Morikawa coming from the middle of nowhere, from the depths of despair, to win that one. So no. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it was a decent price as well if you'd have taken the chance on him, wouldn't you? But no, I must say he wasn't close to my radar, sadly. 66
to 1 on Colin Morikawa.
Huge.
I had Lowry in that one, and I also had... who else did I have? I can't remember. Both got a snitch of top 8. Oh, Hitsasuni.
That's right, yeah.
100
he
plus.
Played well, didn't he?
Yeah, 36-hole leader. And it all came tumbling down on Saturday.
Yeah, but look, it's a learning curve for him. He was clear first-round leader as well, wasn't he? So, yeah, there's a player in there. We know there's a player in there. Just got to... I guess find his level. That was quite a jump in terms of the level that you'd expect him to actually get over the line with. But yeah, top 10, can't sniff at that.
Now Morikawa was a step into the unknown. I was never getting near that one. But Jacob Bridgeman last week at Riviera. Now that's a different story, really. Now we haven't got Barry this week, But the story goes that Barry was clearly on him on the last podcast at Pebble Beach. And Bridgman was in the mix all week. At one stage on Sunday was in second place, right in the heat of the battle. And then went backwards and then bogeyed the last to basically get a tied 8th with about 5 other players.
Yep.
For an each-way part return. Now, as you would expect, listeners, Barry wasn't overly enamoured with that finish. As you wouldn't. But then, of course, Jacob, who has been playing some fantastically hot golf so far in 2026, goes and takes out the Genesis Invitational at Riviera Country Club. And when you look back, and I clearly look back and you look at the stats, his stats are excellent the week before. The one it's always an excuse. And the one reason I didn't actually go for him, bearing in mind he was a great target price, that tournament is absolutely rife for longer price winners winning it. Mm. There's a history of it, an absolute history of it. If I look back here, just looking at my system, clearly Bridgman now at 90-1. Matsuyama, when you were on him 2 years ago, 80-1.
Yeah.
John Rahm, forget about him. But prior to Rahm, Neiman was 75-1. Max Homer, 60-1. So that 60 to 100-1 kind of area is rife at the Genesis.
Yeah, juicy.
So looking back, you're like, God, I missed that one. But just for listeners, we have seen, Paul and I have seen, a in-play bet from Barry, who did land Bridgman in play. Was it 60-1?
Yeah, he got him at 60, whether that was in play or whether that was just with extended terms at the start of the tournament. I forget now, but Barry was...
I think it was in play.
He was certainly pleased with that. So,
yeah
sadly, Barry's away on business this week and next, so it will just be you and I for a couple of weeks. But Barry will be back for the Players' Championship, I think, in a couple of weeks. So hopefully he's got some stories of winners to tell us by that point.
So Bridgman over in the States holding off Kurt Kitayama and Rory McIlroy, who seemed to be in very good nick, just couldn't putt.
Mm. Yeah,
interesting with the Players and Bay Hill next week. Clearly Augusta, not a million miles away, Paul. When you start recording these podcasts at the start of the year and it's actually... there's actually daylight outside, you know that Georgia, the Masters, isn't a million miles away.
Yeah.
What about for you over in Kenya? What happened in that particular tournament?
That was,
what were your takings from that?
Yeah, well, we saw an impressive young talent come through and snare his first title on the DP World Tour. Casey Jarvis, 33-1 was available, generally around about 25s, but 33s on Monday was available if you'd have taken a chance on him. And there was enough to like. He'd won twice on the Sunshine Tour back at the end of last year, kind of November time. And he's taken the step up. Enough to get your teeth into, I think, as I say. 3rd in Mauritius and 9th in Bahrain already this year. So, there were signs there. But to produce a birdie eagle finish and to win wire to wire for your first title was pretty impressive. So, interesting to see where he goes on from here. I guess there'll be some takers for him again this week, playing in the South African Open. But that was a big win for him last week. Big win. Hits a lot of greens and putts well. So there's not a lot not to like, really.
Let's hope he stays away from Liv.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Let's hope he goes down the Pot Gita route and sticks to the PGA Tour, or moves through the DP World Tour onto the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
just for my own sanity, Paul, I had to look at this while you were talking. My records start in 2006 with Rory Sabatini at the Genesis at Riviera. No one had ever won on debut. Those are the kinds of crumbs of comfort that I take from missing out at on a Jacob Bridgman at 90-1, because they're the ones that really kick you in the teeth, I find.
Yeah, it's on a course that's regularly seen. It's tough to side with debutants sometimes. But yeah, as you say, it all kind of fell together for him last week. So well done to him. Well done to his backers.
I will mention it quickly, but I'm not going to ask you to chime in, Paul. The Bet365 2026 Majors competition is available. I will put a link in the description of the podcast. So we are getting a steady flow of entries as we get closer to Augusta. Check that one out. Let's move on to this week's golf, though. 2 events. We've been talking off mic about the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beach. Is always one that I find quite amusing in terms of its sponsorship. We can remember going way back, can't we, Paul, where this was always the Honda Classic and played at the Champions Course PGA National in Florida. Start of the Florida swing. We're now going to be in Florida for the next 4 weeks. So what does that look like? We've got the Cognizant this week. We've then got Bay Hill, Arnie's place, for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Clearly that's a signature event. We then move to one of the highlights of the whole golfing calendar, the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass, which we all love. The coverage is always fantastic from Florida. Often a bit of spotty weather thrown in there as well. And then we move finally up to Tampa Bay, where they play at Innisbrook, the Copperhead course, for the Valspar. And then, of course, it's not many. It's only a small move across to Texas, and then we're on to the Masters. So plenty to look forward to. But this always used to be a brute, didn't it, Paul? You remember it. Wind howling, tough golf course, thick rough. Plenty of high elite players getting their games ready for the Masters on a tough golf course. Nothing less can be said now, could it? With this one,
no. It appears to have been dumbed down quite considerably over the last couple of years, which is a shame because you start to lose the identity of a tournament when it becomes this kind of homogenous 18, 20 under. Test in inverted commas, whereas, as you say, historically, it would have been many a year where it would have been a proper test, and anyone getting close to double figures under par would have been serious, winning or serious contention. If not, then
we listen to this list of pro winners. So we've got Luke Donald in 06, Els in 2008, Yi Yang 09. That's before he took out the PGA. Camilo Villegas, he won at 13 under in 2010. Then you go on to Rory Sabatini. I was actually on him that year, 2011. That's how long we've been doing this, guys. Rory McIlroy. You've got Russell Henley in there, fan of the pod. Padraig Harrington at 400 to 1, beating Daniel Berger in 2015 and Paul Casey.
Yeah, remember that.
Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler, Justin Thomas. It's not a bad Champions list, is it? And then you get to 2021, and we've had Matt Jones, Sepp Strucker taking out his first PGA Tour event at 125 to 1 when no one really knew him. He beat Shane Lowry, who we were all on that week. Chris Kirk, Austin Eckroat, Joe Highsmith. Yeah. It's been dumbed down, and this week was an absolute kick in the teeth. Really, I don't recall ever a tournament on the PGA Tour. Bearing in mind, it's at almost a $10 million prize fund this week. They're not playing for peanuts here. I think it's $9.7 million prize fund, and as of Monday, first show, Ben Griffin was favourite. Jacob Bridgeman was second favourite. Adam Scott was tied third favourite. And all 3 of those withdrew.
Yeah.
I can't recall the top of a betting market being decimated like that on the PGA Tour before. No,
and if you'd managed to get your bets in super early yesterday, then you'd have had a right touch because the knife has been taken to pretty much the first 3 dozen players or so in the market, as you'd expect. You're taking out such a huge chunk of the market with those 3 players combined. So, what else could the bookies do? But yes, if you manage to get your bets placed before those withdrawals started to come through, then very well done. You'll almost feel like you're winning already.
Let's take you through the detail then. We do have a PGA Tour event on. We have a rather hefty prize fund as well. So the Champion course, PGA National, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. It's a Fazio original, but Nicklaus basically shaped this course, 2002, 2014, 2018, various updates. But as Paul mentioned earlier, what they've done here, they've kind of homogenised the course. So they've dumbed it down. They've slightly lengthened it, but what they've done is created, rather than a long par 4, they've created an easy par 5. And all of a sudden, last year, this ranked as the 15th easiest golf course on the PGA Tour. That's a crime in my mind. 7,223 yards this year. It's been freshly extended again. It's a par 71. Clearly used to be a tough par 70. I categorise it as a Florida golf course. And what do I mean by that? There is water absolutely everywhere and bunkering. Acres of fairway 25. Holes with water hazards in play. As we always say, Paul, this is not a Tony Finau golf course. Amazingly enough, he's not in the field. 15 holes with water hazards in play.
Yeah.
Water everywhere. The fairway widths are 28 yards on average. That compares to 27 yards last week at Riviera and 30 to 33 yards at Pebble Beach. And if you want a whole list of Jack Nicklaus designs, for connoisseurs of Nicklaus designs and cross-tabbing that with players for player form on those courses, there's a whole list of them in my betting preview. All available, of course, as is the content and the data. Paul's preview for the South African Open, all available at golfbettingsystem.co.uk. Just throw it in Google and you'll find us. Right. Bermuda grass greens this week, Paul. We move away from California Poana.
Yep.
And we move to a golf course that has Celebration Bermuda grass overseeded with perennial rye in terms of fairways. Tiff Sport Bermuda grass overseeded with perennial rye in terms of the rough. That has been trimmed to 2.5 inches, where it used to be as thick as 4.5. The greens are 7,000 square feet on average. They feature the original, Paul, the original Bermuda grass, in my opinion, the Tiff Eagle variety.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. This so used to be something completely different to what it is now. You really wanted to look for elite players who had a background with decent major finishes and the like. That clearly isn't the case anymore. Joe Highsmith's he had one appearance here and he'd missed the cut. That's another thing I will say just before we go into our selections. I'm scanning and I'm scanning and I'm scanning and I'm scanning. I'm going, way back to 2010. Debutants don't tend to win here. Yeah. So,
yeah. As we saw last week,
it's
just always a difficult one to. And again, the dynamics of the course have changed so much. So perhaps those with a lot of experience of the course when it was, tougher, perhaps almost feel like it's a bit alien when they come to the test as it is nowadays. You talked about the water; that is the real penalty, isn't it? The rough, as you described, doesn't cause anywhere near the challenge that it did do in the past. So, if you can keep yourself out of the aqua, then you got a chance of winning this, I think.
Just looking at the forecast, wind looks very, very, very there's no consequence to it at all. So the course isn't going to be defended at all by any kind of wind. Thursday looks the sort of peakier, but nothing more than 15 miles an hour. One thing that we do look like we might get some kind of impact from are thunderstorms across Friday, Saturday and Sunday, although at the moment Saturday is the only day at around about 60%. And one point I will make, they did, this part of Florida has been very, very dry in the build-up, and I mean dry. I've got records going back to something like 08, 09, and I've never seen a drier build-up to a tournament in this part of Florida. Now, what I suspect we will see, therefore, are firm fairways with plenty of roll on them. That's on the basis that I'm talking on Thursday, and then watered greens, because clearly it's PJ Tour. You can't have greens that release. So I think the scoring this week looks like it's going to be pretty. This could be, Paul, the first 20 under winner.
Yeah, I think it's kind of heading that way, isn't it? And I think in an event or a renewal of this where the wind does lay down, and don't forget the course is built for quite substantial wind, so it's to be expected there. But if you get a year where there isn't that wind and it's a little bit soft, then I think they will go into the 20s one year. Whether it's this year or not, we shall see. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're damn close to that kind of number.
Another thing that they'll be mentioned this weekend is the way that they've complicated the system with this 2-tier PGA Tour now, where you're going to have a number of players this week trying to get into this signature event next week.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I'm just going through the Aon next 10 here. Knapp not playing, Minwoo Lee not playing, Pearson Coody not playing, Ryo Hitsutsudi not playing, because they all know that they're in for next week. Adam Scott, he's a late withdrawal. He now knows that he's going to be playing next week. Potgieter, Matt McCarthy, Sahith Theegala, Patrick Rogers. None of them play. Another late withdrawal, wasn't he, Rogers?
Yeah.
And then number 10 in the Aon next 10 is Andrew Putnam. And then you've got the likes of, just to add more complexity, you've got the Aon Swing 5. You've got Theo Bjornsson, Nikolai Højgaard, Haotong Lee, Stefan Jaeger, and Kevin Roy. If things all stood the same, those 15 will be playing next week at the API. Now, players in and around that kind of mark that could be really focusing this week on potentially getting a start in the signature level event next week. S.H. Kim, Joel Damon, Davis Riley, always a danger on Bermuda, Lee Hodges, Seamus Power, Keith Mitchell, Jordan Smith, John Parry. Would not be surprised to see a number of those players in the mix this week.
Yeah.
Very, very complicated system. If you go to pjtour.com/signature events /qualification, you can actually keep up with it in play. If you're that anally retentive like I am. Oh, Paul. Just a note here. Mentioned this a number of podcasts now. Cam Young, 66-1 at the Wyndham. Bridgman was another player now, 90-1. So Cam Young, 66s, Rose 80s, Fisk 80s, Brennan 125, Schenk 125, Falamaki 66, Gotterup 50, Rose 66, Gotterup 50, Morikawa 66-1, Jacob Bridgman 90-1. That's all since the Wyndham in August. Of course, we've got a couple of also Scheffler favourite wins, a Schauffele favourite win, and a Ben Griffin joint favourite win.
Yeah.
So, anything north of 50-1, if current trends are available, will win this. I have a number in that area. The one that really grabbed me down low, let's just quickly run through the names that we've got in this in terms of, I'm just trying to keep up to speed with who's still in this. Shane Lowry and Ryan Gerrard are basically joint favourites. Then we've got Nikolai Højgaard at 22s, Michael Theo Bjornsson at 25s with Rasmus Højgaard, Keith Mitchell, Brooks Koepka, Daniel Berger, Theo Bjorn Olsen, Max McGreevy, Rasmus Nergård Petersen and Aaron Rye. Some of these prices, I know it's stating the obvious, have absolutely tanked, haven't they, since first show?
Yeah. Well, what do you expect? The bookies have got to take a knife to them with those players disappearing out of the market. No option.
Haotong Lee, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I went at the top end for a player that I've already mentioned and is playing some really great golf at the moment, has course experience from last year. And one thing I did notice about, you just go through the winners. Highsmith, first pro win. Eckroat, first pro win. Chris Kirk hadn't won for almost 3 years and his last win had been on the Corn Ferry. But okay, you've got an experienced PGA Tour winner there in Chris Kirk in 23. He beat Eric Cole. Sepp Straka, he'd never won on the PGA Tour and his last win had been 3.5 years prior at the Corn Ferry. Matt Jones, 2021, had won on the PGA Tour once. His previous victory had been an Australian Open 16 months prior. So it's not exactly screaming. Oh, by the way, Sung Jae Im, this was his first ever PGA Tour victory as well. Very talented, we know that. He won this in 2020. His previous victory had been 4 months prior in a Corn Ferry Tour event. It doesn't exactly scream. I had a good look at someone like Sami Välimäki, who won at the RSM at the end of last year.
Yes.
But it's not screaming someone that's won recently on the tour that's going to pop up and win again. Sorry, I might have urinated on your strawberries, but
no, you're good.
The one at the top that I really fancy, I mean, is Shane Lowry going to jump out of his home, drive the 3 miles to the course this week and take this out at a ridiculously low price? Well, he could. Are you going to back him for a guy that hasn't won for 3 years at this price? Well, I'm not. I have in the past. It's a great course for him. Ryan Gerard. Now, Gerard is primed for this. But again, very short. I went for Nikolai Højgaard. Now, here's a guy, 3-time winner on the DP World Tour. And he's won some good tournaments on the DP World Tour, as we know. Italian Open in there. His best win, you were on board him. He won the DP World Tour Championship at the Earth Course. And there's one thing with Højgaard. He does tend to be really quite obvious about when he's going to win. It's when he's in good nick, and it's when he's absolutely driving the ball long, relatively straight, and hitting tons of greens.
Yes.
And he's doing that right now.
It's that relatively straight point, because when he's off his game, it can be really quite wayward. And with a lot of water, you don't want that. When he's a little bit, when he's got more control over the ball from off the tee, then yes. Because, ultimately, he's a massively talented player. And if that element of the game is there, then the rest of it can easily fall into place.
I don't think you have to be long here, and you can be a shorty, but whatever golf course you play, if you're long and straight, you've got a huge advantage. Now, last time out in Phoenix, where he finished third, Barry was on him. He drove the ball 323 yards off the tee and was 12th for driving accuracy. And when he played here last year, he was 18th. You know, he was hitting over. He was 27th in the field for driving accuracy and 8th for greens in regulation on his debut, finishing in the top 20. So I fancy Højgaard. This could be the point. Bearing in mind, Højgaard is still, he's not he's not in the signature event level. Nor's his brother Rasmus. And also, he's outside the world's top 50. And as we know, end of this month, or end of March rather, the top 50 second cut-off is coming for the Masters.
Yep.
A win puts that all into the rearview mirror area, as we saw last week with Mr. Bridgman. So, I'm on Nikolai Højgaard, who is just on the outside looking in. And a good week this week on a course he now knows would seriously open some doors for the rest of the year. How many you got this week, Paul?
I've got 3. I've got one in that kind of lower bracket, and then a couple of longer prices, one of whom is shared with you, actually. But I'll take you through my shorter price, because you mentioned him already. And I kind of earmarked Shane Lowry for this event before the market came up. He was, as you said, he was kind of joint third favourite. Early prices 22-1, which I thought was quite fair. And as you've described in detail already, the market's been decimated since Griffin, Bridgeman, Scott all disappeared, and you're getting 16-1, the best price on Lowry right now. Those players disappearing out of the market enhances his chance, because he's got less of the favourites, less of the fancy players to compete against. I'd already backed him, so it's immaterial in that respect. But I think this is a massive opportunity now. His last 4 attempts here, 2nd, 5th, 4th, and 11th. He feels really close to me, and you and I and Barry as well have discussed him a few times so far this season. Because there have been some really good signs. 3rd in Dubai at the Invitational, the season opening event over on the DP World Tour, was good, because he's not always the fastest of starters of the season. So to see him come out and shake the rust off and get 3rd there was good. 8th, as you described at Pebble, you and I were both on him that week, and that could have been better, but wasn't in the end. 24th last week, and that was after a slow start. So. Plenty to like. Also, going through your rolling strokes gained stats on your preview.
All over them.
Yeah, he is all over them. And again, some of these have changed because you've got the withdrawals, but he currently sits top for strokes gained approach in the recent 8-week trackers, and also top for strokes gained tee to green, which is always a green light. I know plenty of people, communicate right to you and talk about the stats that you produce for these rolling stats and how effective they can be, particularly the strokes gained tee to green ones. So when I saw he was top of the stat there as well, that was kind of rubber stamped my my thought process for that. But Lowry 16-1 now, best price you'll get. But I think he's got a great chance. Really do. We shall see.
Next up for me, I'm into the 40s. Max McGreevy. I've got 2 points each way, 40-1 with Betfred, 8 places each way. They had some great prices this week, Betfred, on their extended places market. Interestingly enough, with Fred as well, their standard market is 5 places in the quarter, like a lot of bookmakers now, but they're offering not only 8, but up to 10 places each way and a 50 odds.
Yes.
So well worth checking out Betfred. And they do that on both the PJ and the DP World Tour. That's true, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, definitely.
So in a world where you're struggling to get 6 places now on the DP World Tour, Betfred are well worth having in your armoury. McGreevy, he's the sort that's always reasonably strong from tee to green, but cannot putt. But it's just noticeable. 30-year-old from Oklahoma, yet to win on the PGA Tour. I know it sounds ridiculous, but just looking at the profile of winners here, tick. But where he does tend to pop up, 5th at Sedgefield, short course, Bermuda grass. 8th and 3rd at Port Royal, that's where they play the Bermuda Championship. Coastal golf course, windswept, Bermuda grass. 2nd at the end of last year at the RSM Classic, played on Sea Island. 2 golf courses, both Bermuda grass greens. So you're seeing a pattern there. He'll play on power, lose a stroke with a putter. He'll play, but Bermuda grass, all of a sudden you're seeing. I'm not suggesting that this guy's going to be, making 10 strokes with the putter this week, but all of a sudden it's positive, and that's all he needs when he's got such a consistent tee to green game.
Yeah.
So Max McGreevy, for me, this is clearly he played both the signature level events. He missed the cut last week at Riviera by a shot. 29th at Pebble Beach. He's in decent nick. He's very consistent. Would not be surprised to see McGreevy go well this week. He was 4th here 12 months ago. So Max McGreevy for me. I'm then out to 60 to 1s and bigger. Are you in there, Paul, in that intervening point? No?
No. The other two I've got are both triple digits. So.
Do you want? I don't know who you've got placed, but Paul, do you want to talk through Tom Kim?
Yeah. Do you know, I haven't backed Tom Kim, and I've.
Oh no!
Do you know the reason why is I agree with the sentiment of what you've done. I'm just annoyed that I missed the early prices on him, and I guess this is going to be a similar sentiment for a lot of punters. If you hadn't placed your bets already and you're looking at a player that was, what did you get, 60 to 1 I think you got?
60 to 1, 8 places I managed to get on him yesterday with Betfred, yes.
And, you know, by the time I'd finished writing my preview and everything yesterday, and I get down and, you know, you're looking at a price that's been absolutely hammered because you've had the withdrawals and, you know, it's going to be a popular player anyway. And I hadn't pulled the trigger, Steve, but look, I wish you the best of luck with him. I really do. Perhaps I'll relent towards the start.
He was 70 to 1 with Bet Victor and Betfred in their standard 5 places market on first show. And that's what, just listeners, I get a lot of this. It's like, oh, how do you get these? You know, this is just the job of what we do. We're clearly on the cusp of pulling this together as markets arrive and when prices are fresh. So if you're listening to this on a Thursday morning just before tee off, you know, you're not going to get these kind of price. Well, saying that, with a lot of our tips, they drift, so you might be getting a bigger price, but you know, prices are so sensitive these days. I just hope with Tom Kim, it's more hope than expectation, although his numbers are improving. I just think President's Cup year, this is a guy that's gone a very talented sort, 3 PGA Tour victories. This field is not good. And what we have seen from Tom, his wins are on short golf courses where you can score a little bit. Now, Tom Kim here, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have gone near him. But when a score's going to be close to 20 under par for the win. And another thing you can say about Tom is he's iron straight at the moment. Not the longest, but iron straight off the tee. So shouldn't be having a lot of water problems. And he's actually hitting some greens, and his strokes gain approach play is improving. It's just, as we see with him, and as we've seen through his short career already, he won't be able to putt. Doesn't putt. And then something, of course, the tee to green game is then so good, all of a sudden, confidence comes with the putter and bang.
Yeah.
I just thought 60 to 1 on Tom Kim in a field of this quality, which now doesn't have Adam Scott, Jacob Bridgman, or Ben Griffin at the top, was a good price. And also fits in very nicely with his current narrative, doesn't it? In terms of the winning prices. And, you know, Colin Morikawa a few weeks ago, 66 to 1, there was nothing there to suggest he'd take that out. These elite players can just deliver. And with Morikawa, you probably wouldn't have backed him after round 1 either. It was literally, he just clicked at halfway and he was unplayable.
Yes.
So you just don't know, do you? So I'm on Kim at 60 to 1. Another price point around that as well, I've gone with Nico Echeverria, a point each way at 60 to 1. This one with Bet365, 8 places each way via their each way extra facility. Echeverria, totally inconsistent. From a strokes game perspective, you'll never pick him because he's either contending for a victory or missing a cut. And when I say missing a cut, it tends to be a bad miscut. Hence, you tend to get decent odds on him because of that inconsistency. But one thing you say about Nico is he's a talented lad. He's already won twice on the PGA Tour, and he has got an excellent record on Bermuda grass greens and shorter golf courses. Any kind of wind, he'll lap that up. His first victory on tour was in the Puerto Rico Open, where I think it was blowing 35, 40 miles an hour each day. But just the sort that could pop up this week And we know with Nico, once he gets into the mix, he hangs around. Don't forget, he was in the top 10 a few weeks ago at the signature event level AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, where he finished 8th just 2 weeks ago. And that week, very noticeable for Echeverria, you think of him as a short game specialist. He was 2nd for strokes gained on approach and 4th for strokes gained tee to green. So Nico Echeverria for me. What about you, Paul?
Well, the next one I've got is shared with you, so I'll
through it, mate.
Start you off, and then
you go through it.
You can back him, but Andrew Putnam was one that caught my eye early on, and to be fair, he caught the eye of a lot of punters too, by the looks of it, because he was, even prior to the withdrawals, he was being backed quite heavily. Did I say what? I think I saw 175 early on. With standard places, and with the extended places, you were getting potentially a little bit more. But yeah, Andrew Putnam, 2nd at the American Express. You've got players coming into this who have a miscut or two over the last couple of starts, particularly when it came to playing on Poana. And I think you often see this when we move to Florida, that you can often just put a line under the most very recent form of some players and see it flip on its head completely, because they're kind of holding on for this next stage of the season, the Florida swing, the switch to Bermuda grass greens, and it can materially change their form. So I don't mind the fact that he's coming in off the back of a miscut here. He was 11th in this last year too, so he has that kind of classic combination, and you're still getting 3-figure prices about Putnam out there. So quite happy to dive in on that one. As you have done too, Steve.
If Andrew Putnam was ever going to miss a cut, it was going to be 7,800 yard Torrey Pines.
Yes.
I mean, this guy is struggling to get it over 300 yards. He's like going back in time, isn't he, Putnam? But what he is very good at is playing wedges and can be lights out putter.
Yes.
And one thing about Andrew is, he's not long, but he's iron straight off the tee. So hopefully not too many, if any, drives into the water. He's also got quite a sneaky good Florida form line. For a guy that is not long, he's got a couple of decent finishes at Bay Hill. And Bay Hill and here, you've got to say that they're not overly dissimilar. So, I thought Putnam was a decent bet. A guy that finished 2nd as recently as January at triple digits. I managed to get it 10 places each way with Boyle, so 125 to 1. I was quite happy with that, Andrew Putnam.
Yeah, nice combination there.
Final tip for me, right out there, 170 to 1. I've backed him a few times. He hasn't done a great deal, but you're never quite sure. Another one that's not long, although he's not as short as Putnam, but again, he's iron straight and has been hitting lots of greens recently. He was 18th last time out at the Farmers Insurance Open, which again doesn't scream David Lipsky to me, Torrey Points, 7,800 yards, or 7.6 or whatever the number is. But Lipsky, I just saw him gravitating across lots of my strokes gained metrics. He was 11th. What have I said? He was in 11th spot heading into Sunday before it all got too much in 2024. 7 top 10 finishes since then would suggest in the same situation this week he might actually hang around. Because he's the sort, isn't he? 4th at YLA in 2023, 9th at Colonial in 2024, 3rd at TPC Deer Run at the John Deere Classic last season, 2nd at Silverado as well. So just the sort that's been gravitated. I mean, he's an old DP World Tour player, isn't he, Lipsky?
Yeah. Won a couple of times over there. Yeah.
I managed to grab 170 to 1 with Bet365, 8 places each way in their each way extra market on David Lipsky. I have no idea what he is now. He's probably 300 to 1. I'm just scanning.
No, I think he's been reasonably popular. So.
You'll get 175 to 1 with Star Sports if you have got an account with them. But yeah, generally now 90s to 110s on Lipsky. So Lipsky, Putnam, Andrew, Nico Echeverria, Tom Kim, Max McGreevy, Nikolai Højgaard. For me. Next week, of course, Paul, we've got the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And
yes.
the the ubiquitous question of Scotty Scheffler going off around about 3 to 1, 7 to 2 on a golf course he absolutely thrives on and on his best putting surface of Bermuda grass. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Over to you. We have a national open on.
Well, yeah, I've got one more. I've got one more longer one at the.
Who are you going for in the long price bracket then?
The one I've backed is Davis Riley, who's
of course,
175s or 150s with extra places. Sixth at the Sony Open, which we've talked about on the pod previously, led into Sunday. A couple of missed cuts more recently, but as I've just described, I'm not massively concerned with that.
No,
because the rules have almost changed as we head to the Florida swing. 4 cuts from 4 starts here, and he's been in some decent enough positions over those 4 events. Just hasn't quite put 4 rounds together, but he did open with a 64 last year. Can play the course. He's third on your Florida statistic that we pulled together for the predictor model. So I think this switch to the Florida swing can really be positive for a player like Davis Riley. So yeah, put it all together. I thought the price was worth taking a chance on. 150s with extra places.
Yeah, Riley on Bermuda grass, especially coming up to tournaments like Copperhead where we were on him last year, 300 to 1, and he gave us a serious run, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He was 7th in the end. He actually got us an each-way payout, but was in some of the final groups. Yeah. Second at the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow last year.
Yeah, he was.
That just shows you. Yeah.
I know the kind of the major championship correlation with this event has kind of been dampened down over the years, but even so, that shows you that the guy's got some ability. So we shall see.
Investec, South African Open.
Indeed, yes.
What do you think to the field?
Well, fairly run-of-the-mill, I guess. Because we've got Patrick Reed added in this year, and we will do for the foreseeable future, I suspect. He's also playing the Joburg Open next week. So
fair play to the bloke.
Yeah,
he'd do what he said he would do, wouldn't he? He's going to be a DP World Tour stalwart this year. Fair play to him.
Yeah, and he's currently heading the race to Dubai, and if he keeps mopping up tournaments or having really strong finishes, he's just going to keep accumulating those points.
Yeah,
who's to say?
Rory's actually got a challenger this year.
Yeah, precisely, and
for the Order of Merit.
It could get to Abu Dhabi and Dubai at the end of the season and be in with a real chance of toppling Rory. We'll see how that pans out. But yeah, for now, the second leg of our African continent triple header. So we had Kenya last week, and as I say, we've got the Joburg Open to come next week. But what should we say? One of the oldest tournaments on the schedule, co-sanctioned with the Sunshines Tour. So we've got a smattering of players from both tours this week. It's also part of the Open qualifying series. So worth noting as 3 spots for the field at Royal Birkdale are up for grabs this week. So that will be an incentive for a number of players this week who fancy playing in the Open this July. Patrick Reed is the favourite, 11 to 1, and back after his 2 wins in the Middle East and topping the market once again, as you might expect. Jaden Shaper has been backed into second favourite overnight, 12-1 now. Angel Ayora, 14-1, had another chance last week, didn't he, to win? Hasn't quite put together the Sundays yet, so when he does, he's going to be a formidable force, I suspect. Dean Bemester, Brandon Grace, both 20-1. Henny Duplessis, who had a decent finish last week as well, 22-1. 28-1 by those players. So, to your point, yeah, fair. I guess if you exclude Patrick Reed, then a fairly run-of-the-mill South African Open tournament renewal this year. But yeah, Reed adds a level of quality for sure. We are at the Stellenbosch Golf Club in Stellenbosch, South Africa, which is down towards the kind of southwest of South Africa, just to the east of Cape Town, if you want to try and get your bearings for this. Now, the event itself always does hop from from venue to venue, so we are at what I guess we'll have to describe as a seldom used course for this event. The last time it was used was back in 1999, and that was when David Frost held off Scott Dunlap and Jiva Milka Singh. Some blasts from the past there, so I'm not sure that 1999 event is going to help you a great deal. The course itself, and there's some renovations since too. The course is classical in style, Parkland course, opened back in 1904 and then updated to its current 18-hole routing in the 1950s. It's scheduled to play as a 7,213-yard par 70 this week with just 2 par 5s. Tree-line fairways, quite tight in places by the looks of it. Kikuyu fairways and bent grass greens. So it'd be interesting to see it. It'd be nice to get a view of it. It does look like a proper classical style course, which will appeal to some more than others, I guess. As we often see with these co-sanctioned events, there has been some lower level tournaments played here on the course over the years. So we do have events in 2010 and 2019. The Vodacom Origins event on the Sunshine Tour was played here. John Hugo was won in 2010. He shot 17 under for 54 holes. Tristan Lawrence, much more familiar player, 2019, he won here with a 15 under total through 54 holes. So that kind of puts a 72-hole tournament in a winning target of, again, maybe 20, 21, 22 under par if all things remain equal. We shall see. There are some basic stats available for both of those events. I've detailed those on my preview if you want to dig through those. The events played here kind of both suggest that greens in regulation was the key stat. The primary objective would have been to hit as many greens as possible. It doesn't look like greens are particularly big, so I get that. And I guess with a lot of Parkland classical style courses, that is often the case as well. There was a bit of disparity with the way that both Lawrence and Hugo got over the line, though. Lawrence was 14 under for the par 5s back in 2019. And John Hugo was much more balanced across the 3s, 4s and the 5s. The course has reduced in par to a 70 since, and as I say, it'll only be playing with 2 par 5s, so that dynamic will have changed this week. Scoring wise, well, had it been an old par 71, then I'd expect 20 under would have been the winning total. I guess because they've cut it down to a par 70, perhaps we will see a more mid-score winning total. But look, we're guessing, as always with these courses that we haven't seen. Remains to be seen exactly how it plays. There's been some pre-event rain, not particularly heavy, but some rain over the weekend and the early part of this week, and potentially just running into Thursday morning as well. So there may well be a little bit of cut in the turf. From there, dry and sunny for the most part. Temperatures up to the mid to high 70s, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds maximum in the afternoons, and fairly benign in the morning. So I expect it will be pretty scoreable, I'd have thought. In terms of current form, every winner of this event back to 2014 had a top 20 finish in one of their previous 5 starts. The last 7 winners as well were all South Africans. So we've had Louis Oosthuizen, Brandon Grace, Christian Bezwinhout, Danny Van Tonder, Tristan Lawrence, Dean Burmester, and last year was Dylan Naidoo, a massive 350-1 last year.
Wow.
So, yeah, 7 consecutive South Africans. So, yeah, if you're digging through what they've actually done, those 7 players at the South African Open before their event, then it's pretty mixed. I mean, Dylan Naidoo had nothing more than about a 30th coming into this in terms of his previous South African events. Some of the players had a bit of a mix of some better performances, but it doesn't appear to be one where you can particularly get stuck into the event history with any real confidence, I don't think, particularly with the event having moved venue again this year. Perhaps a bit of current form is the better way to look at this. But as I say, not a great deal to go on. I've kept it quite simple. 7 consecutive South African winners. I've gone for 4 South Africans who I think could win this. And hopefully that trend continues and one of these boys pops up and wins the tournament. We shall see. 2 relatively short, and then I'll bring you in, Steve. Jaden Trey Shaper, I've backed at 12-1 now. There was 14s early on yesterday, but that's been mopped up. As I said, he's been moved into second favourite overnight. Patrick Reed, as I say, I guess he's kind of keeping the prices further down the list a little bit more sensible. Making his debut this week, though. Can he continue the form that we saw at the Middle East? I don't know. If he does, then we're going to have to seriously consider what we do with him moving forward if he continues to win, because he just simply can't be ignored. Angel Iora, I don't think, as I say, he hasn't quite worked out how to win yet, but you can't say the same about Jaden Trey Shaper, who does seem to have worked out how to win. He beat Sean Norris at the Alfred Dunhill Championship at the end of last year. That was with an eagle on the playoff. Did exactly the same thing the following week to beat Ryan Gerard in the playoff with another eagle in Mauritius. So it's got that kind of winning mentality, that winning knack now, which will be interesting to see if he can continue into this year. He's sitting second in the race to Dubai. So not only will he have again, he should be playing PGA Tour next year, but he'll be having some interest until the latter part of the season in terms of the race to Dubai itself, should he continue to perform over the next few weeks and months. Now, did have a little dip in form after those 2 wins, as you might expect, but 4th at the Dubai Desert Classic, that was at Rolex Series level. 9th in Qatar last time out, are both pretty good efforts, I think, and he still seems to be in decent shape heading into this. Strong long game. The putters really picked up of late as well. Top 10 for strokes gained putting in 5 of his last 7 starts. So, yeah, I think Jaden Trey Shaper, really good bet this week and has a really solid chance of winning his home open. The other one I've backed, last week I backed Tristan Lawrence, finished 29th. I've stuck with him this week, 28-1 with 8 places. And I felt this is the kind of event or the kind of week where if I'd given up on him, then it could have come back and bitten me on the backside. So I've kept the faith with him. He opened with a 65-66 last week. He was 8th heading into the weekend and was very much in the mix before a flat Saturday. Shot 1 over on the Saturday. Much better on the Sunday again, but you just couldn't afford to have that one poor round last week, which did for him in the end. Made his Sunshine Tour breakthrough here at Stellenbosch back in 2019. He shot 68-65 to win by 1 that year. 5 times a DP World Tour winner since then. And that includes the South African Open, this event, which he won at Blair Athol in 2022. Found some form with his irons on Sunday, shot 66. I think he could well be a feature here this week. Now, I've got a couple of three-figure chances. Let's bring you in, Steve. Any sub 100 to 1 fancies for you for this week?
I've kept it very simple this week on the DP World Tour. Current form, 5th, 4th, 5th, 9th, 9th, 8th. 7 top 9 finishes in past 8 events. Going back to last July's Live Andalusia tournament. 14 South African Opens. And yes, they get played on different courses. But first, 2020. Second, 2018. 4th, 2016 and 2025. 6th, 2008. 7th, 2018 and 9th, 2011. Step forward. Brandon Grace. 20 to 1. I managed to get with Bet 365 8 places each way.
Yeah, he's been really consistent, as you say, hasn't he? It's just a long string of top tens. We'll see.
The salt.
Yeah, you can't argue. To see Grace up there in the mix wouldn't surprise one bit, and certainly has the I guess the prestige to go on and win his home open.
Yeah, you'd think it'd motivate him this week.
Absolutely.
That's my only bet.
Yeah, well, don't blame you. It's a bit of a minefield out there. I've got a couple of longer prices that I fancy. One of them's Oliver Becker, and he's still getting a little bit 100 to 1 out there. I suspect he'll go off about 80s because he has been a little bit found out in the market since they opened yesterday, and he's been backed quite steadily. But I think for very valid reasons. 41-year-old now, never won on the DP World Tour, but he has won 9 times on the Sunshine Tour over the years, including last week in Durban. Also won on the Australasian Tour back in October, so in some good form overall. He lives in Stellenbosch. He's attached to the course, and so you have a big advantage in terms of local knowledge, course knowledge, local support, can sleep in his own bed, of course, this week. Lots of positives of it being a truly home event for him. Was third here in 2010, 21st in 2019 on those 2 Sunshine Tour events. And if you go back through his history, he has won on successive starts in the past, going back to 2017, I think it was. And also 2 of the last 5 winners of this had won on their previous outing. So there's an awful lot that points me towards Oliver Becker, and in fact he was the first player that I backed out of my 4 yesterday. So I really am quite keen on Becker. We'll see how he goes. He is coming off the back of a win, and that can be a negative in terms of just not necessarily motivation, but just energy levels, I guess. But the flip side is this is a great opportunity for him to win a home open and to get that first DP World Tour win. So let's hope he can be fully focused on home turf this week. The other one, the final one I've backed, is Ryan van Velsen. There's 175 to 1 out there as we record on Tuesday morning. 24-year-old, I think he could be a surprise contender this week. Won twice on the Big Easy Tour as a teenager a few years ago. Won twice on the Sunshine Tour since. And he actually won their Order of Merit back in 2024. He's no mug, this Ryan van Velsen. He's a good player. It just needs to step it up at DP World Tour level. Hasn't quite done it at this level yet, but the best efforts that he has had have come in these South African co-sanctioned events. He was second to Dean Burmester in this event back in 2023. He was second to Sean Norris at the Alfred Dunhill Championship a year after in 2024. So has shown some contending form at this kind of level. 18th last week in Kenya, hitting lots of greens. There's enough there for me to take a chance on him, I think, at the price on offer. So that's Van Velsen, Becker, Tristan Lawrence, and Jaden Trey Shaper, my 4 for this week. That's me.
Cheers, Paul, for that. Thank you very much. Should be a decent week of golf all round.
Yes. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Let's hope we get some players in the mix. I hope your bets go well, Paul.
Yeah, best of luck, Steve.
Best of luck to you. Best of luck to listeners. We'll be back next week. We've got the Arnold Palmer Invitational on the PGA Tour. And you're still in South Africa, Paul, yeah?
Yeah, Joburg Open next week.
Joburg Open. Don't forget, if you're still with us on YouTube, press that like button, subscribe to the channel. And of course, on Spotify, press that 5-star button. We'll be back next week. Goodbye.
If you like betting on golf, but everyone that you back misses the cut, get some experts involved with all the stats and the tips and so much more. 'Cause it's the golf betting system, the golf betting system, it's the